Well, as per usual, perhaps we could have a conversation in this the dynamics of speaking truth. Number 9. Take a look at make comparisons about our definition of humility, to be humble. What does that actually mean in the context of truth, of speaking truth? Humility in today's world is, if you look it up in a dictionary, it has to do with being lesser than, not as good as the president. Maybe you're the janitor or the truck driver or maybe the electrician or the carpenter. Supposedly the lesser in terms of importance, not quite as good as. I wonder how that stacks up when you consider the dynamics of speaking the truth. Wouldn't humility be the ability, hey, that rhymes, the ability to be, wouldn't that mean to say the ability to speak the truth about yourself? The place where you fail, the places, or just place, the places where perhaps you don't fail, the consideration about your way of being, all of that has to do with, do you have the ability, or maybe I should say, or could say, do you have the humility to speak the truth about yourself? I mean, for instance, in my case, I'm a complete and total failure as a father, as a son, as a brother, as a business person. Everything this world implies that we should be a success at, I'm a complete failure. Well, except for lying and cheating and stealing, I'm pretty good at that. So is the person's ability to speak the truth about themselves, is that to be humble, humility? Can you do it without braggadocious, promoting yourself perhaps way above where it is that you are? So does being humble exclude the ability to be truthful about yourself? And there's a dynamic of speaking the truth about yourself that's created the moment you create creation, or the ability to create the observation of yourself. And if you are, or tell the truth about yourself, your way of being, all those things, then the dynamics of speaking truth, will be that when another person speaks, you have an instantaneous observation of whether they're bragging or what it is that they're doing. It will include your ability to hear the tonality of the words that they're using, of the phrases that they're using, the manner in which they point to themselves, if you will. Because the truth doesn't have any brutalness, it doesn't have any negative, it doesn't have any positive. It doesn't have any congratulatory. It doesn't have any criticism. It has no pride. It only has the truth. What is the truth about it? That's the only thing that makes a difference. Actually, in our world, we have left this particular space, but in our world, really, the only two things that make a difference are truth and lie. However, we have moved thousands of miles, thousands of years beyond the space of truth and lie. Now we're into the space of excuse, of justification, of explanation, of explaining away. We don't make any more mistakes. We already know that we're all right about everything, so we don't have any problem with these mistake kinds of things. We don't do that anymore. Well, we haven't for thousands of years, except in rare occasions, perhaps. So my question, or my query here in this discussion that we're having about to be humble. To be humble, I'm suggesting, does not necessarily mean to demean or cut yourself down. It simply means to tell the truth about yourself. Seemingly, there was a fellow who was supposedly completely humble. He ran around with a bunch of boys up in the mountains. They all wore these long skirts and sandals and stuff. His name was JC. JC and the boys, I think they call him. He was supposedly humble. At least according to all the stories that we hear about the old boy. I don't know because I didn't meet him. But from what I have read, heard, and all those kinds of things, seems like he was humble. Which simply means he told the truth. When they got ready to hang him from the cross, rather than fight, rather than self-defense, he simply gave himself up as a way of being, because to be trapped in self-defense means that you are more violent than the person doing the attacking. So if somebody attacks and you're a good Christian, then you put a bullet right in front of it, right between their eyes. And then you will be, unbeknownst to you, more violent than the person who came after you. Now there is a conversation you could have about that. If you do happen to defeat what you probably call your enemy, or that person who had the audacity to attack you, you could then say that you are then the more violent of the two. And then you put your violence into the world. However, this whole time then you're calling yourself, perhaps, humble. I might suggest that the least humble amongst us are those who are going to heaven. Because look at the qualities that you have to go to heaven. You have to, well, you could elicit them, but there's a bunch of them. And of course, if you're going to heaven, then you qualify because you've reached the bar. Actually, if you knew what the bar was, it just means that you believe. And that's all that. The only thing you need to have is to go to heaven is to believe. Believe there's a Jesus, believe there's a God, and believe old Mother Mary and poor old Joseph, the old boy left to heaven. The guy comes around and gets Joseph's fiancée pregnant, and then Joseph got to raise the fella. So if you actually take a look at your own way of being, you'll be able to speak the truth about your own way of being. And as I said earlier in this silly little conversation we're having, When you speak the truth of and about your own life, then when another person does the same, you'll instantly be able to ascertain or to see the truth in what they're saying, or if they're lying. And it goes even more deeply than that. The dynamics of speaking the truth are many. There's hundreds of them. I've made 9 tapes here so far, and haven't even scratched the surface on the dynamics of speaking the truth. What are the benefits of it? Heaven on earth is one, or internal peace is another. Collective peace on earth is another, if you accept your own humility, being humble, speaking the truth about yourself. So you could say, as opposed to this, what do they call that thing, dictionary, that talks about you being less than the other person or all those things, you could say that true humility, to be truly humble, simply means that you tell the truth about yourself. If you are truly gifted at something, it will be recognized. If you speak the truth of yourself, you will instantly receive the benefit of the dynamics of speaking the truth. And as I just said, there's many of them. There's a lot of them. You'll never be able to be conned again. I mean, there's on and on they go. All belief would end on our planet. There would be internal peace. We would internally be free, in other words. And that would extend then, and we would have collective peace. We would be collectively free. To be free actually means not to be trapped in thought, not to be trapped in this idiotic thing called belief. I believe there's all of these things. When you, as I said before, when you believe something, you end our natural flow of intelligence. But I already said that yesterday. I'm repeating myself. Actually, I've been repeating myself quite a bit, haven't I? But I'm telling you for sure that even though the words might, some of them, be the same, or there's really no repetition. Repetition happens when you simply repeat something that someone else says. Or you said yourself. That's repetition. But if you have the energy, the honesty, the truth each time, that's not repeating your words. That is actually speaking the truth. Is there such a word as newly? A new manifestation of the truth. The truth is always new if it is spoken from the observation of it being true before you speak it. In other words, are you observing the truth of what you're saying before you say it? If so, it's not repetition. It's simply the observation of a truth in a new now, a new way. I don't know how many ways, over 43 years, I don't know how many ways I've said the same thing. There's a new consciousness born that creates a new human being that is the evolution of the human race. And this new consciousness, this new human, is bringing forth a world where there's no argument, no fights, no killings, no wars, no raping of women. There's simply the being free internally to be at peace internally. And then, when it reaches critical mass, it means the collective peace and to collectively be free. Not freedom. Freedom is something you have to fight for. Have guns and bombs and bullets. If you have guns and bombs and bullets to gain your freedom, that's not freedom. That's not being free. That's freedom. And what you have to do, if you use guns, bombs, and bullets to gain your freedom, is you got to have guns, bombs, and bullets to maintain your freedom. I'm not speaking of that. I'm speaking of the mirror image of freedom, which is simply to be free. No belief, no gods, no directions, no cults, no 4,200 different religious God beliefs that cause wars and cause us to kill each other. So, are you willing to take a look at the possibility for you to become humble? Now, as I've said before, humble in today's world has different languages to it because it challenges your ego. So in today's world, to be humble would mean that you're stupid, that you're ignorant, that you don't know anything. And from there, you see, that is the entry point to creation, to intelligence, and to truth. When you end belief, truth manifests. When truth manifests, intelligence manifests. That ends the trap of thought. When thought trap is ended, creation then creates from nothing, from not already knowing, which is knowledge. So we no longer bring our life forth from knowledge. You see, if we bring our lives forth from knowledge, it's ever the same. It's the same. Knowledge is what's happened before. Wisdom, understanding, all those things are knowledge. And if we bring our life forth from there, that space, then we're ever repeating our history. But how about if we bring our lives forth from creation? Because you see, creation is nothing. It doesn't know anything. It isn't already existing knowledge. It creates, or you create, from nothing. That's an invitation to actually consider, to become humble. You know, a dumbass, a person who doesn't, pardon me for lying, pardon me for cussing. I don't like to cuss because it sounds like shit. So would you please consider becoming humble, becoming stupid, becoming ignorant, so that you don't know anything? If you get to the point where you don't know anything, you really don't know anything, you will discover truth, intelligence, and creation. A perfect experience of discovering your own humility is sent to each of you. I wonder how many of you will accept. See ya.